Something I think that is severely overrated is how much people value comfort. How much they value their comfort and want to stay comfy. I find that comfort is absurdly overrated. Now why? Why do I say this? It mainly has to do with this concept of every person having a baseline level of happiness. And I think that same concept very much applies to comfort. And the concept of the happiness thing is this. So all of us, we have a baseline happiness level that we stay at on a normal day. And that fluctuates depending on whether we have a good day or a bad day. It comes up and down and is a roller coaster. But eventually we come to a baseline level of happiness. Even if we were to win the lottery and live a far more lavish life, eventually over time we'll have that big spike in the beginning, but it starts to dive down and evens out to baseline. Because your body really wants to stay in homeostasis or just in balance most of the times. So obviously it's gonna try and get back in balance. It doesn't wanna keep on pumping these levels of dopamine, oxytocin, these like feel-good hormones and force your body into a state that it really shouldn't be in. And the same applies the other way, where if you're in a really bad situation, eventually you'll just adapt and get used to that as your current situation, and your happiness level eventually returns to baseline. So either way, if you live in a certain condition for long enough, you get used to it and you won't be as unhappy or happy as you really think you would be. And I think that same concept applies to comfort, where yes, we have a baseline level of comfort and that can fluctuate up and down depending on the situations and things we do in a day, where we could push ourselves to be uncomfortable or very comfortable at times. But eventually over time, if we force ourselves into these situations for long enough, we adapt. We get into situations where we might feel really uncomfortable, right? Our comfort levels might take like a complete nosedive, but if we stay in that uncomfortable situation over time, that's gonna rise back up and our body finds a way to adapt and learn to, get used to it. You really can't underestimate the level that your body can adapt. It can adapt to a lot of things rather quickly, rather well. So really don't underestimate the things that your body can do and push you to. It just doesn't want to because, well, when you're putting yourself in such different fluctuations, it does burn quite a bit of energy and it is taxing. Your body wants to stay in homeostasis at all times. So it doesn't want to go extremely far out, or if it stays too comfy, I think that wears on our mental, and that's a whole different thing that I don't know if there's any like biology behind that, but I don't know. I find that it's very hard for me to stay comfortable for a long time. So either way, being comfortable for too long sometimes is low-key uncomfortable for me. And I really feel that every single person out there should be uncomfortable. Because as I mentioned before, your body can adapt to such things that you have no idea of where it could be pushed. My life in and of itself is kind of an example of that, I'm not gonna go and like start trauma dumping, but as a kid, like I had it kind of rough. Whenever I think to my past childhood, a lot of the times I can't help but just like think back and feel a slight bit of pain and regret. Like, why was I so messed up as a kid, right? I was constantly hurt and beat as a kid. And yet every single time they told me, it was out of love, I want to teach you to be better. It's for the better of you. And yet I never felt an ounce of love coming out of that. When you're being beat, how can you really accept the love there? But being forced into such a situation for long enough, maybe first 9 years of my childhood, it teaches you a lot. It teaches your body to adapt to a lot of things. And I might have a little trauma, I might have a little trauma in me, but trauma is there as you adapt. PTSD is a form of adaptation. If whether you like it or not. And PTSD makes you adapt so far because the circumstances are so grave that there are lasting consequences. But for the average Joe Schmo like you that's watching this video, you will not have situations like that if you push yourself to be extremely uncomfortable. You will just be in slightly uncomfortable areas and you will adapt just fine. You will not develop PTSD or anything like that. So do not get scared, do not think about anything like that. And even people that should have developed PTSD, sometimes there are miracles where they get over it and they get past it and they somehow fight through. Those are extreme cases of bodies developing and adapting absurdly well. So what I'm saying here is don't underestimate yourself and push yourself to be better. Push yourself to grow. I struggle daily with a lot of things, with lust, with my own flesh, with laziness, with so many things on a daily basis. But I want to struggle and I want to continue fighting to be better because I know that God did so much for me and I want to be better. I want to reciprocate his love and show that at the very least I am a little grateful. My whole life has been a struggle where I work to be better. I work to be better than the person I was. To use my past as not something to resent or hate, rather as a thing to push me forward and teach me how to be better. Because I think that's the only reason why the past exists, why God gave us memory, so that we would learn from our past and learn to not be that old version of ourselves and see our wrongs and right those wrongs in the future. Life is incredibly boring if you sit there staying the same the entire time. I find it to be absurdly wasteful of a life if you just sit there not wanting to be better whatsoever. Oh, I can't speak. I'm living off 0 hours of sleep right now because I want to record. And that might be, something that I've adapted to. Being uncomfortable right now, I still want to record. That's just the kind of person that I am and I've built myself to be. You cannot live life thinking that you don't have to do more, because it's almost like a bird being in a cage. Are you really living life, or are you just a prisoner in a really nice cage, in a really nice cell? Just imagine this, right? Say you have a bird that's raised in captivity ever since it was young. It's raised in rather well conditions, it's given food, it's given water, it's given attention, There's no reason to want to escape, right? It's got a pretty nice exclosure. But on the flip side, where if it was raised in nature, it could be roaming the skies where it should be, where it could be exploring and being in the nature and, living to its utmost potential. But does the bird know that? No, it has no idea. Because all it knows from the very beginning is this exclosure, this life of mediocrity, of good enough, where it doesn't have to be anything else. It's comfortable enough to stay here and live here for the rest of its life. And I think that's the life that a lot of people live. They live as a prisoner to themselves in this really, really comfortable cage. They draw this invisible line around themselves thinking that I'm comfortable enough, this is enough for me. But if they were given a chance and if they had nothing to lose, they would take all of their efforts to making their life a little better, to fully reach and live an existence that fulfills their inner deepest parts of them. If it's up to me, if I have to be homeless and I can't eat, if that's what it takes for me to follow God, if that's what I have to sacrifice in order to follow God, so be it. I don't care. I've thought of these things in my head already. If I do go homeless, I'll shower in the gym, I'll keep my stuff in the gym lockers, and at the end of the day when I gotta sleep, I'll just go sleep somewhere that's open 24 hours. It's not that bad. You have to just look past these things and become like glass half full final boss, right? In these really uncomfortable situations, look to them with optimism, because it's an opportunity for you to grow and become a better person. Don't live like a prisoner in a really nice cage. Be out there as a bird with a broken wing, because at the very least, you are trying and you're giving your very best. And I'll stand by this philosophy to the very day I die. So I'm begging each and every one of you, don't live a life of mediocrity. Life is not meant to be lived comfortable. It's meant to be lived uncomfortable so that we would be growing, eternally better people for this world, so that we could just help others. Help others to be stronger, help others to be better, help others to be an example and lead others into a life that they think they would be truly satisfied with. I want to live every single one of my days to its utmost potential so that I can inspire others. So I'm just begging you, don't value your comfort over living a life that you truly want to, all right?